All right, here we go. Howdy, it is I, your king, James Victory, and this is The Right Questions. And if you're listening to the podcast, you are in the right place. Today, we're going to figure something out. Something that I get asked a lot. And not really going to put this thing to bed because I think there's a lot to be said on this particular subject. But the question I get asked often is, hey, James, how do I find my voice? What is this thing? What is this thing we're talking about? What is this thing called your voice? Right? So I'm using this opportunity to figure a few things out for myself and write them out densely and deeply for the first time. And also so I can help learn you something new, right? On finding your voice. So let's dig into this. And when I say your voice, I don't really mean your singing voice, right? Your voice as in, hey, let me hear your voice. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Don't stop me now, having such a good time. Not talking about that. But maybe I am. Maybe that has something to do with it. So check this out. When I do a live workshop, one of the things I do with a group is I get the folks around in a circle and we do a thing called object improv. And what that means, it's an exercise in improvisation. Right? On the spot creation. I take three ordinary objects. I sound like a magician. Let me take three ordinary objects. Ma'am, do you have a handkerchief? Sir, do you have a stapler? Right? I take three ordinary objects, like a bit of rope, maybe a plastic dinner plate, or a paper coffee cup. And the group gets in a circle. And I hand out randomly the objects. And on each turn, the person who has, say, the rope, then presents with the rope. They create some scenario. They let us know who they are and what they are with the rope. Perhaps the rope is a snake, or perhaps it is a bolt of lightning, or perhaps it is a walking stick. I don't know, right? And then they do their thing, and then when they're done, they pass it to the next person to their right. And those three objects go around in a circle, and I go, plate, cup, rope, cup, plate, rope. And everybody gets to do their thing multiple times. So the interesting thing is when, someone has done a walking stick with a rope and you have to do, you're like, oh, that's what I wanted to do. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you have to do it differently, right? Or perhaps even better or worse. So the only reason to do this exercise is that it is really hard to do. It's just hard to do. It's hard to do. We as creators or entrepreneurs or business people, we're not prepared. We're not practiced in that. And that's good. That's good. This is why it's a fresh thing for us to dive into. So I give them the directions and I tell them they can use their bodies, right? You can move, along with the object, right? And you can make sound effects or use words. But you just can't say what you're doing. You can't say, I'm a snake charmer, or I'm Charlie Chaplin, right? If you're Charlie Chaplin, you have to prove it and not say it, right? You have to prove that you're Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin didn't talk, quite frankly, in his movies, but he had a particular style. You have to mimic or imitate that style. If you're a snake charmer, they move and their snakes move in a certain way. They may perhaps be sitting cross-legged on the floor, right? Right? You get the picture? But there's a funny thing that happens here. They, of course, are kind of destined to use their body, right, to display some evidence of what they're doing. right? Wobble like they wiggle the rope or wear the plate like a halo and maybe prance around like Jesus would have, perhaps. But there's a next step. There's a deeper step that is most always missing from their performances. And I have to, like on the second and third round, I have to bring it up. And you know what the missing element of their performance is? Their voice. We, I include myself, are so afraid to make a sound, right? They're up there, they're performing, they're standing, the spotlight is on them for 30 seconds, but they're so afraid to make a sound because it's like entering the room a little more bold, or perhaps it feels like drawing more attention to themselves. So it's difficult for me to get them to use their voice, to make a sound. Why? Because it's a whole nother level for them of being seen, of asking to be seen. It says, hey, look at me. Look what I can do. And that's difficult for us to do as adults, isn't it? It's a whole nother level of them putting themselves out into the world, and there is the fear of being silly. Even though that's what this whole exercise is about. Laughing and going, oh my God, wasn't that fun? Right? But it's a whole nother level of vulnerability. But in that, it's also a level of authenticity, of being, and of being really free and fun and playful. You see, that's why it's hard. Because they have to express themselves fully and commit to acting. Oddly enough, as I've heard, that is a reason that many actors become actors. Because they get to be other people. Because perhaps they find it difficult to be themselves. And they enjoy hiding behind that persona, those other people. Very much the way a comedian may often hide behind his or her humor, right? This is the difficulty of being human. You know, we have these brains, and these brains hold a lot of fear and a lot of thoughts. So maybe when I'm talking about your voice, maybe it is about your singing voice or your ability to express. Now, quite frankly, I think it definitely is. So I want to answer a few questions on this subject of your voice. Firstly, what is your voice? What does that mean? What is your voice? And then the big question, where the hell did you put it? Where'd you leave it? Where is it? Why can't I access it? Why am I not, right? Why am I not using it? Well, the answer to that is simple. It's fear, but we'll get into that. So what is your voice? You know, I talk about it and you seem to understand that you at least want it, or seem to think that perhaps I have some access to mine. That's why I get the question, which is funny. And honestly, I think I do. I think I can access my voice fairly easily. But I also think it is something that you craft over your entire lifetime. That is, unless you do this one stupid thing. Unless you get old, right? And I mean like old at 30 or old at 40 or old at 45, because that happens often. People get old way too fast. And then you actually stop developing your voice. And what happens is your voice, like you and your life, gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, right? Until you fit into a pine box. So you were born with a voice. And what I mean by that is you were born free, with no limits, no blocks, no hesitation, none of it. You had no fears. You had no thoughts about embarrassment or shame. You had no what they call original sin. You were born perfect. It's like the only time you are perfect, because then you were given parents and school and lots and lots and lots of rules and lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. So as a kid, your voice is how you see the world and how you want to interact with it, how you want to play with it, how you want it to accept you. That's all your voice. It is the very damn thing that makes you weird as a kid. And listen to this, by golly, it will make you great today, if you can allow it. And allow it means let it out. Allow it means allow it. Let it do its thing. It may surprise you at times. So your voice and that freedom becomes the core of your purpose. It is aligned with your purpose. And you, as adults, now we all need to align with our purpose. So we're searching for our voice, but what we're really searching for is our purpose. Why am I here? What the hell am I supposed to be doing? Why am I at the checkout counter at the pharmacy when I really should be listening to music? Right? Why am I barista when I have this huge, massive record collection? and that's what my whole life is about. What the fuck am I doing? Right? That's a misalignment. And I am very keen to say to people that I know your purpose. People say like, hey, James, I'm trying to find your purpose. I'm like, oh, I know what it is. Ask me. I know what it is. I know your purpose even when you don't. Because we all have the same purpose. We want to get back to that kid. We want to get back to being ourselves. And when I say, the things that made you weird as a kid make you great today, people are like, oh, you mean like picking my nose? But I say basically, no, fun, play, joy, and love. And they're like, well, that's what everybody has. Yes, it's true. But none of you have it now, so fuck off. Because none of us have that. None of us have fun, play, and joy, and love in our lives. Not at that level, not at that freedom. We can't freely give and receive love. It's difficult for us. To give a compliment to somebody, some random person, that's difficult. To accept a compliment, these are hard. So we want to get back to being ourselves. We are all desperate for that. We all want to play this game of life in our own way. And so many of us, dare I say, pretty near all of us, in some different percentages, all very high percentages, get derailed from that purpose. Because our parents were not allowed to follow their purpose. And they became accountants because their parents had money hang-ups. And all the fears were handed down, right? I mean, I know people who became doctors because their parents were doctors. Did they want it? No. Are they happy? No. Well, then how good a doctor are you if you're not happy being a doctor? Don't get it. James don't understand that shit. Or simply your folks were afraid because you were creative and they didn't know how to handle it. They don't understand it. And they want you to be safe and secure financially and don't believe or understand that one can make a living, a good living in the arts. And quite frankly, you can't make a good living in the arts if your voice is squelched by fear. whether it's your fear or your parents' fear or society's fear. So, as I said, your voice is how you want to play. Listen, the greats in any field were born. This is what we say. We say he was born. He was born a baseball player. He was born to play football. This boy was born to play football, right? Any greats were born to do what they do. Like Jim Carrey, for example. He was a goofy kid. Most really great comedians were just goofy kids. None of them were like, oh yeah, I was a physics major in college, but I decided to do comedy instead. They could say that as long as when they were kids, they really, really wanted to be comedians and not physicists, right? So Jim Carrey, if you see very early interviews, he's just a goofy kid. Anthony Bourdain, one of the great chefs, and I personally know some of them. Bourdain learned that food was a tool or could be used as a weapon when he was a kid, because he was able to eat things that his older brother was afraid to eat. So he had something on him. He had something on his brother because he could eat, for example, oysters right out of the ocean, right? Right now, you're thinking, oh man, I wish James Victori could be my mentor, my guru. Hell, I wish he was my coach. Well, you can make that happen. Go to yourworkisagift.com. There's a questionnaire that will probably help you out, but it'll also give you access to a free call. So let's talk. Let's free you from overwhelm and creative frustration. Let's build your business and help you get paid to do what you love. Again, go to yourworkisagift.com. Let's talk. Any major athlete will tell their origin story of being out in the backyard for hours until the street lights came on, and even further, just shooting jump shots or tossing the ball with their dad. Right? The great astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, he himself says, when I was a kid, he says, I went out into the night sky and I looked up and he said, and the universe called me. And all he did was stick with it. All he did was stay in love. He stayed in love the way you have to. You have to love your voice, this calling, so much that you'll do anything to stay in love. I see this spirit and direction of play in my two children, and I ruminate on their futures and how I can shepherd that. Wyatt is a builder and an engineer, and he's always talking about science and figuring bizarre ways to do things, right? It's quite frankly can be annoying, right? But I think he carries the ghost of Rube Goldberg around in him. Right? And all I can do as a parent is to introduce him to a lot of things and see what sticks. Maybe sports. Maybe there's a lumberjack in him. Or maybe it's wrestling or MMA. I don't know. He's a little small, but who the fuck knows? Maybe he's just limber and quick. Or maybe it is just Legos and engineering. Same for my daughter, Nova. She's an artist. She's constantly moving, constantly singing, constantly dancing, constantly drawing, right? There's an artist in there. Either of them would make lovely botanists or very happy day laborers, right? But that's the important thing. Happy. Happy. If they're happy doing that, beautiful. That could be their purpose. But only if it's within their purpose and their voice, and it's something that they love. I mean, I was born to do what I do. I know this for a fact. I've charted it back historically. I see it all. I was created and have evolved to follow my messy spirit. I wanted to be a stand-up comedian. I wanted to be a daredevil. I wanted to be a writer. And somehow I do all those things today. And I know how hard I have fought and suffered and had setbacks and fucking failures and pains. And I still do. And I do this to allow myself to be me. I work hard just to be paid to be James Victori, because that makes it easy. I don't got to make anything up. I don't got to fake it. I don't got to try. I don't got to go around asking, what do they want? I don't know how to deal with these people. What do they want? So your voice is your spirit of play, and you have to follow it like a current. And most people don't. Most people suffer through life because they're fighting the current. Do you get that? They're fighting the current. They're swimming upstream, and we ain't salmon. We follow the current and allow it to take us where we need to go. It's like the first line of my best-selling book, Effect Perfection. By the way, that's a contractual thing. I have to refer to it as my best-selling book all the time, because it's a contract that I have made with myself. If I say it, it must be true, right? But like the first line says, we are all born wildly creative. And some of us just forgot. So you forgot. That's where your voice is. It's buried, or it's slightly dusty, but it's within you. It's within you. And admittedly, it's very hard to just pop it back on and ride away into the sunset, right? We need to allow ourselves to do that. We need to allow ourselves to feel the freedom to express our opinion and put it in your work. That's the important part. Put it in your work. Put it in your life. Put it in your lovemaking. Put it in everything. Put it in your cooking. The freedom to express your opinion. Now here's a complete segue, but talking about work. Like, I know a lot of designers who make logos. I see them. I know one or two of them, but I see a lot of them. That's what they do. They make logos. But all their logos look like Sailor Jerry tattoos, or they're formed off of like old Hot Wheels logos, or old Barbie's logos, or old mechanics logos, right? Or they're variations of a circle that have been vectorized beyond repair. I mean, sorry, it's just me ranting, but listen, just like in my improv exercise, there is a next step that is always missing from their logos, always missing from their performances, missing from these types of designers. Because they're creating for an audience. They're sitting around going, what does my audience want? My audience wants these things. My audience likes this. But it's not theirs. It's not original. It's quite frankly a job. It's not their voice. And I've realized, silly me, I realized late, but I learned eventually. So many people take on, when we're young and we're dreamy-eyed still. I'm still dreamy-eyed, but, bear with me. We get out of school and we're like, wow, I want a job in the creative field, or creative, dare I say, industry. But they take a job in this creative field, only to wake up a few years later and realize they've only taken a job. That's it. It has damn little to do with creativity, and really damn little to do with their creativity. Very little room to actually be creative, except for possibly a small flourish here or there that you can try to take credit for. And when I look around at the design landscape, all the work being created around the world, I feel Socrates, right? I feel his lament when he said, I go out into the marketplace and I see how many things which I do not need. So I'm walking around going, oh my God, look at all this effort. Look at all this work. But where's the design? Where's the creativity? What does the designer think? What do they believe? You know, it's like most designs these days, most creativity these days looks like there's a small group of trained monkeys in a basement somewhere churning out work that looks alike. You know, for like, I guess, dominating clients. I don't know. No opinion. Just like making focus groups very happy. Okay. I'm done ranting. So here's the question. Where's your voice? Where is your voice? Your voice is in you. It always has been. It's just there. It's waiting for you. It'll be there when you call on it. And you'll train it and it'll get stronger and more beautiful. And other people will listen. Because you got a great voice. And how do you find it? You don't. You don't have to. You have to allow it. You have to let it out. That's it. Let it out. Allow people to see you. I bet dollars to donuts that people are going to love seeing you. I'm James Victori. You guys are fucking awesome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting this effort. I've got a bunch of new plans I'm making for this, for the right questions. I want to hear yours. I want to hear what you want. I want to hear how we can make this better. I'm James Victori. I love you. Adios.